Hi, Andrew. How are you?
Hey Janelle, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for being with us today on the Valley. I'm looking very forward to talking to you about Ciardelli Fuel Company. I know I personally use you and I'm in love with your company, so I'd like for you to tell us about its history.
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to. And thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. Where do you want me to start? Just company history or?
Yeah, so you've been around forever. So we grew up together, right? I remember your parents used to own it, and if I'm not mistaken, you're third generation. So, I just want to know, like now you and your brother own it. So tell me, like, how did it start? And then how did you and your brother come to own it? So just kind of go through the timeline of its history with us.
Yeah, for sure. Ciardelli Fuel Company is a third generation family owned company started by my grandfather, Babe. His name was Ernest, but we'll refer to him as Babe in 1957. Him and his nephew Chick, who was his nephew, but he was only a year apart. They were only a year apart in age because Babe was the youngest of like nine kids.
Wow.
They took out a mortgage on my great grandmother's house, Babe's mother's house, to borrow $10,000 to purchase a fuel company. Just this guy who was retiring, he had two trucks and a couple hundred customers, and they decided they wanted to go into business for themselves. So they took that leap of faith in 1957, and ran it just as an oil delivery service only company for the next maybe 30 years, 20, 30 years. Babe had three kids. They all grew up in the business, in some way, shape, or form. But really, my father, Mike, was the one who kind of stuck around and took to the family business. So Mike, my father, was working in the oil business alongside the same time being a carpenter. He's a trade woodworker. That's been the love of his life um, for, the better part of 20, 30 years. My mother was involved after they got married, and she had her, thumb in things at an early age. And they purchased the business from Babe, who was, Babe worked there for 40 years. And then maybe mid 90s, like 94, 95, is when my parents decided that woodworking generally is not cutting the bills. So they decided to purchase a fuel company from Babe. Um, and Matt and I grew up, my brother Matt, who's president and, co-owner of Ciardelli Fuel, we grew up in the company at a very, very early age. That was like, I remember riding my bike around the fuel company, and it was a dirt parking lot with a couple of trucks and, customers coming in to pay their bills, but it wasn't much back in the mid 80s.
Yeah.
Um, they took over the company in 1995-ish, and then they took the leap of faith of getting into propane in 1999. That proved to be, the future of the fuel industry. And that is really when things started to snowball, if you will. Yeah.
In a good
So,
direction, right? Snowballing, like getting bigger in the right direction
yeah.
and
Yeah.
growing.
Matt and I both went off to, our respective colleges to kind of chase our own careers. He went to school for finance, I went to school for marketing, and then, after graduation and understanding what the real world job market was, we decided, hey, this might be a fun endeavor for us to come back. So he started full time in 2003 or 2004, and then I started full time in 2005. And that is really when we came back from school, young, ambitious, entrepreneurs. Here we're gonna, grab the bull by the horns, and that's when things started to kind of snowball some more.
Mhm. Yeah.
We took ownership of the fuel company sometime, I would say 2012, 2015, in that area where my parents were kind of phasing out, but they were still involved. We kept them on as consultants, and my mom and dad were still involved in operations, but over the last several years, they're enjoying retirement.
Good for them. They deserve it. They've worked so hard for their entire lives, right?
Yeah, yeah. So in the time that Matt and I have been there, I can't believe I'm saying it's been 20 years full time now. I mean, it's all I knew growing up in the fuel industry. I mean,
Yeah.
starting off, cutting the grass, then washing trucks and polishing trucks, then driving trucks, and then you move on to installing heating systems. We have a full service division of the fuel company now, which is HVAC services. So we're doing furnaces, water heaters, boilers, oil tanks, propane tanks, installation, service, maintenance. That was kind of the industry where I took my expertise is service.
Mm. It's so interesting that you say that, right? So what a wild ride taking on a family business, right? I know that too. I took over my mom and my aunt's business, but you have an extra love for it. It's almost like a love-hate relationship, right? Because
Yeah,
we grow up and we think we'll never, be part of the business. And then as we like really age into adulthood, we're like, oh my gosh, this is such a great opportunity, right? And you change your perspective. And then to have like your parents on as consultants for a while, like what better coaches to have than the ones who helped build the business before you, right? But then also, isn't it funny? Like I know at Thanksgiving we'll be talking about Wendy's cleaning service at the dinner table. So work always comes home, but it's like with an element of love, right?
yeah.
And so when you grow up in the business, sorry, my dog is squeaking her toy. So, but when you grow up in the business, and you do like you wash the trucks, you cut the lawn, you drive the trucks, now you understand every facet of your business, right? And so
Yeah.
you understand how to train people well, and you understand the overall health of your business maybe better than somebody who was hired into the position. Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Oh, yeah. My father taught us at a young age, and my mother, work ethic, just work really, really hard, start from grassroots and then work your way up. So Matt and I, between the two of us, we have 5 kids. I have 2, he has 3, and they're starting to get to the age where we can kind of push them into that role a little bit. Like Nikki, my oldest nephew, was polishing trucks this summer, so it's kind of fun to see. 14 years old.
Yeah. So you're already building the next generation of employees without them even knowing it yet, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
So
now, so I am a customer of yours, and one of the things that I love best about Ciardelli Fuel Company is I have something called C Fuel, right? So I have my own account, and if I have any questions, comments, or concerns, it's super easy to reach you. I can access every invoice that I've ever had, every delivery. So if I ever want to make like a budget for myself or if I want to like reflect on last year's prices and this year's prices. So for me, it's super user friendly. And so I just want you to tell us more about that for like, what is it that makes you so good for your customers?
yeah, my Fuel account is a platform that's tied into our back office software, which has been fantastic in the industry, um, helping with not well the MyC Fuel account for any customer. They can log on to it via their website, our website, or the app, and see delivery history, service history, balances due, credits due, budget history. So that is a huge resource. I mean, and it cuts down on call volume from my office. So
Mm.
instead of people calling in. And in the world of digital technology, I mean, that's what everybody wants now. They want it at their fingertips, right? So um, that's been a really great resource. Just staying current with the technology, that back office software also helps us do routing really well.
Yeah.
Forecasting, delivery routing, it creates efficiencies for our drivers. Um, it's a very vast platform for scheduling the service technicians when you have 30 technicians who are in 5 different houses a day. It's a
Mm.
lot of houses that you have to touch. And that software allows us to schedule them effectively, notify our customers via, email or text. And it's been great.
Yeah. And so somebody like me and like all these houses that you have to touch, like I just want to touch on a couple of points there. So you and Matt have taken over the business. You've grown extensively since you have taken over the business in about 2015. You have this digital technology that allows people like me to use your services easily. So where exactly are you servicing? Who are more people like me? Like, what are you touching?
Yeah. So when Matt and I took it over, it was just Milford. We had, I remember that year in particular, my father was very happy. My parents were very proud of the fact that they sold 1 million gallons in that year. That was a big, big deal for us back then. But, we're talking about, that was when there was 2,500 customers. So now we're up over 20,000 customers. We have 5 locations.
Wow.
And these 5 locations, well, there's Milford, of course, but there's also Keene, Henniker, Peterborough, and Langdon, which we have acquired through the last decade. It's been Some have been acquisitions. We purchased Shabbat Oil. That was back in 2016. That was out of Keene. A couple of brothers who ran an oil company who decided to retire. We saw the similarities in our businesses and our family history, so we acquired them. And then over the next year and a half, we built an office and a propane facility in Keene, which has been great. And then a few years later, we did it again in Henniker, not with an acquisition, but with, I guess we could say, a key person acquisition. We had some friendly competitors up there in the area for over the last 10 years, but, one of those friendly competitors decided to make a change in his life, and then we partnered up, and our general manager in Henniker is Alan Kingsbury. He's just a huge asset, huge.
Mm,
So we built an oil plant and a propane plant and an office up in there that he runs. And
mm,
it really is, well, we also have now acquired A.W. Peters in Peterborough, which is another friendly competitor we've had over the years. They were transitioning out, so there were similarities there, but another one in Langdon, New Hampshire. So we have 5 locations. And it's really about Matt and I can't be everywhere
yeah,
at once.
you're only two humans.
So it's the people. It's just the people who work for you and hiring the people who come with these acquisitions and mergers that are really the face of the company who can take, their own responsibility and they can manage well. So the people are what make the company.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
something I learn a lot talking to different people on the valley and then so many different industries. It's all about the relationships that you build, not micromanaging, allowing people to thrive and flourish where they do, and then letting that be a support for the overall well-being of the company. And then that's how companies are most successful, right? Trust and competence. If you trust, the people you have in place, the right people in the right seats, then the confidence just, happens naturally, right? And then, success.
Well, I mean, you're living proof. I mean, I've always been looking over the shoulder of Wendy's cleaning service at you and what you've done with your business. And
Well,
I knew it way back in the day of, your mother and your aunt. And when they bought it, I remember that clearly. And
yeah.
to watch what you've done it's been amazing. It's fun to watch.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's so funny, right? Because what we do is we're just living our lives, aren't we? But then at the same time, like one of the things I've learned being a business owner, especially in a small town, I love Milford. I live in Milford, you live in Milford, right? And I love the community. And what I've learned is being a business owner is great. However, what's even better is being uh part of something bigger, right? And creating like a healthy well-being for like our employees, right? Stability. It's just a great responsibility to make sure that you're taking care of your people too, because then they of course then inject that into, the local economy and then it's just better for everybody. It's a ripple effect,
Yeah.
That's just
Yeah, of
really
course.
satisfying.
It
So,
is. I love seeing it. And I mean, we still have new faces coming in. I mean, there's some new faces. There's some faces in our office that have been there for 20 years, and it's fun. It's definitely a sense of community at our office, not just in Milford, but in Henniker and Keene and Peterborough. It's just a fun place to work, and I
yeah,
look forward to this time of year all the time because we'll have our Christmas party in December, and we get everybody together,
yeah.
have a nice dinner, and that's always a real fun but sentimental time for me because it's like, holy smokes, look at all these people.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
you really, and then they get to look at each other too, and just be like, wow, we're much bigger than just, each individual is important, but like you're part of one larger organism, right? And like you're all working together. And what a way to celebrate, like, I don't know, doing well and being part of something good, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So we're talking about the holidays. The winter is coming, I think, even though it's gorgeous and sunny and there's no snow in sight, right? But welcome to New England. So, I know for me, I'm just on a plan. You guys just show up. You guys just know when I need oil I don't know when I need oil. You guys do it for
Yeah.
me. And then I just pay online. So, what should people be expecting? Like, from your perspective, what are three things maybe that you could get people ready to prepare for the winter to come?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked because that's a good question. Automatic fuel delivery service is the way it should be. I mean, especially for people who are using it for heat, right? Not just oil or propane, but if you're using it for heat and hot water, you
Yeah.
want to be an automatic, okay? Because what that does is we come when you need fuel, right? I mean, that's just it. You don't have to think about calling. You don't have to pick up the phone or anything like that. We just come. Um, it would be easier if all of my customers were on automatic delivery, so we didn't have to kind of chase the ones who run out of fuel. But I mean, automatic fuel delivery helps between not just potential runouts, but also efficiencies in your home, delivery efficiencies, and then price volatility. I mean, there could be, I don't know if you remember a few years ago, there was some shortage, supply issue shortage with propane. And, when supply gets tight and it's really cold out, people can, it's a little bit scary.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, nobody wants to ride a fuel when it's 10 degrees outside.
Right. That's the wrong time to be asking for it, right?
Yeah, automatic fuel delivery, not for sure, number one, but also preventive maintenance programs like the service program that you're on, that a lot of our customers are on. We come out to service your heating appliance once a year, and it's automatic. It just
Mhm.
computer spits out the notification, you're due for service. Hey, this is when we're coming. Call our office or text us if there that you need a different time. If that's not going to work for you, but heating system breakdowns are a real thing. And unless you get people who proactively have it serviced, it's going to happen eventually.
Okay, so I want to point on that. So I'm glad that you said that. So I had a letter that was, delivered in my mailbox, and then I had a follow-up email about like you guys were going to come out and check on my boiler, and you did. You guys were amazing. Customer service was fantastic. I did have to reschedule, and everybody was awesome. But then when they did come out, I was like, my water in my shower was sad. It was like, room temperature to kind of warm. And who wants that in the winter? And so your service technician, did a diagnostic, and lo and behold, I need a new mixing valve, right? I
Yeah.
wouldn't have really put two and two together if I didn't have a professional coming out to my house. So then we got it on the schedule, and tomorrow you guys will be here, and I will have beautiful hot water. Thank you, you know. And then the
You're
other
welcome.
thing is like, so, talking about like, boiler issues are a real thing. Last year, you guys helped me, right? Like my expansion tank died.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I had no idea. And I had 6 inches of water in my basement. And one of your guys came out and just like, I call him a fairy with a portable sump pump because he came out, he took all the water out of my basement. He had everything in his truck. The leak was fixed, and like he was in and out within, I'd say, 3 hours. And
Yeah.
like all of my panic was subdued because of him, so that just goes to two stories to talk about like the service and how important it is.
Yeah. No, it's good. I mean, we strive really hard to provide a good service. And, we've got these service technicians. They're fantastic. I see them and work closely with them every day or when I can. And we can't solve every problem first trip all the time, right? And that's just the reality of the world that we live in, where you have a customer who needs a special order part. That's not something we have on the truck. And, we have to run back to the shop to get XYZ because the vans are only so big and we don't have that part. But we have, back office people who work in the office who are going to work with that service technician to get the part same or next day. Follow up with the customer. Hey, I know your heat's off. We're going to try to get that part and be back on Thursday. It's cold out. If you had an issue with your furnace and we had to red tag it and we have to put a new one in a couple of weeks, we can set you up with temporary heat so you're not freezing and your pipes are broken. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of moving pieces to the service department, and that's what I
Yeah.
like about it.
Yeah.
And the guys are the best. The guys in the service department, we're really lucky to have them.
I've never had a bad experience once. Everybody has always been super kind, and going right back to those relationships, right? So like they treat me kindly, like with respect. They're very educational. And so, I mean, and like, and also like I feel like, fuel, it can be expensive. It's an expense of our houses that is, kind of hard to swallow at times. I never mind spending the money on like the service your company provides for me because it's so good, and I have like absolutely zero worries about having heat, or hot water, right? So thank you.
Yeah, I can say the same about Wendy's. I don't really pay attention to the bill. I just know that when I come in, it's nice and clean in there. Yeah,
One hand washes the other.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
okay, so you guys are growing. You and Matt are doing phenomenal. Are there any things that you see in the future for growth? Or are you just kind of happy with where you're at right now? Is there anything you want to share?
It's a good question because you know, we've reached this, platform now when we're in 107 towns and
Yeah.
we have 20,000 customers, and we want to continue to focus on those towns and saturating our customer base in that area. The further you go, the harder it is to have your thumb on things and manage things. So just providing a quality service for our existing customer base, or our existing customer base, but other homes inside that, that network too.
Yeah.
So, and then successional transition of business, man. Like I want to see my nephews, I want to see my kids eventually get into it at some point in time. That would be a huge goal for us because that's how Matt and I got into the business. God bless my grandfather and my mother and father who taught us everything and taught us hard work. So I
Yeah.
would like to see that happen in the next 10 to 15.
That's wild. Yeah, I'm sure you'll get some resistance, but isn't that the natural, order of growing up, right? We always try to resist our family business until we come back around to it and,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then just, do it again for the next generation. So
Yeah. That's the ultimate goal. So,
good.
well, I'm sure you'll be there to watch the whole thing.
Of course, I know. Yeah, Aiden is only 6, right? So
Right.
if I still have this company when he's old enough to take over my company, they need to do science experiments on me or something because I'll be
Yeah.
700 years old.
Yeah.
But all right, Andrew. So
Um,
I always ask, where can we find you? I know you have 5 locations, but why don't you give us your main office's address and phone number and email so that we can
yeah.
blast it across the bottom of the screen?
Course. Our main headquarters is 467 Nashua Street in Milford, New Hampshire, and it has been for the last 65 years. So that's where you can find us. Matt and I and our accounting and HR team have built a new professional center, which is just down 2 addresses over, 473 Nashua Street. That's the big yellow building. That's our new office.
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of like an admin office, but poke in and say hi if you're a customer, if you're, a professional business owner listening to this. And our other locations are in Keene, Peterborough, Langdon, and Henniker.
That's
So stop by. Our Henniker office is about a mile from the Henniker Brewing Company, so that's not a hard spot to find.
yeah. That's frequented.
Visit us at cfuel.com. That's letter C, Fuel.com. And yeah, we'd love to have you.
Awesome. Wait, give us your phone number too. I want that as well.
Okay. 603-673-1336. And if you don't live in the Milford and surrounding area, they can just bounce you over to the appropriate office.
Awesome. Thank you so
So,
much for taking the time today. I really appreciate it.
yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Bye, Andrew.